So we have a very distinguished closing panel, and we're delighted to have them here. And we start with Adam Branson, who is with FreedomWorks. We're delighted to have you here, Adam.
Thank you.
And next to him is John Funn, our resident political analyst. Next to him, Steve Forbes, is our resident everything. And this year's most controversial moderator, Nick Gillespie.
Yay.
Yes. So we will start with you, Nick.
Yes.
Now, as you know, I asked you on the very controversial, huge debate yesterday, Trump, pro or con, is he a professional or is he a con man? That's a new version of pro and con.
Yeah.
And you promised me, you said, I said, could you be objective? And of course, he immediately said, yes, I can. But as you know, nobody knows what can really means. So Nick, my understanding
of the word can.
Yes. What does the meaning of the word can mean? By a show of hands, how many of you saw this incredible debate? I mean, it turned into a shouting match, which we don't like to do, but somehow you encouraged it. So Nick, can you please inform us, what was your method to your madness?
Yeah, and sadly, it was mostly madness. We figure out the method later, but I was born in Brooklyn and raised in New Jersey, so I felt like we weren't shouting at all. That was like brunch, a church brunch, for heaven's sake. But I came out of that debate, I think, even less enamored of Donald Trump. And I also want to say that, I said I would be objective, and by that I mean I would bring truth to bear on topics. And I think I fulfilled that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now, we have next to you Mr. Steve Forbes, and you seem to be a little bit reluctant to reveal your presidential preference for this year. Can you now tell us what your analysis is? Do you think this is the most unprecedented election that you have seen in your lifetime? And what do you think the outcome of this election will be?
Well, I said I'd support the Republican nominee, and it is unprecedented. Never seen anything like it. If there are no consequences, it would have been a great show, very, very entertaining. And the election is for Trump's to lose. Most people don't want a third term of Barack Obama. They feel the world is falling apart. And so if Trump can reassure the doubters enough for people to say, let's take a chance on him, maybe it'll work out, he'll win. But there's a lot of days to go between now and then. If he came to this town and just hid for 4 months, he'd win by a landslide.
So John Funn, our resident political analyst, isn't it true that many Trump supporters are simply in denial? The fact is that the odds makers have Hillary Clinton winning by a landslide. Is that more reality, or is that fantasy on the part of the odds makers? Maybe like Brexit,
I was in London for Brexit, and I went to Ladbrokes the day before and got 6-to-1 odds. First time I've ever gambled in my life, and boy, did I hit big.
Wow.
Wonderful.
And now you're here in Vegas. So
I'm still not gambling. I know these odds. Seriously, we have a choice. We have a choice between P.T. Barnum and the Bonnie half of Bonnie and Clyde in this election.
So which is which?
Well, I know Clyde is interested in other Bonnie lasses. So I don't think when it comes to the Supreme Court and it comes to the fact that Hillary Clinton, imagine Hillary Clinton, having been the subject of an FBI report, would be in charge of the FBI and the IRS and the National Security Agency. I don't even want to think about it. I'll just summarize the choices here. I know that when Bill Clinton was president, he would wake up and say every morning, who can I blank today? That's what he did. Donald Trump, if he were president, he would get up and say, who can I impress or intimidate today? But if Hillary Clinton were president, she would wake up every morning and say, which of my enemies can I crush today? And I think it's all in all of our best interest to make sure that doesn't happen.
Wow. There's no question that this election is extremely important. So, Adam, you are with the freedom movement. Mm-hmm. You eat, sleep, and drink this every day. You are meeting with people on the grassroots level with Freedom Works.
Right.
So what do you sense? How do you see this election? Do you think it's possible that Donald J. Trump, who has never held a public office before, now becoming the most powerful man in the world, is going to win? Is that even conceivable?
If I was going to Ladbrokes tomorrow, I would actually place a bet that he will win. And the reason is just the anger that you're seeing at the current political establishment.
Is that enough, though, to win? Just anger?
When I look at what's happening in what happened with Brexit, when I poll our FreedomWorks members, most of the FreedomWorks members were for Rand Paul or for Ted Cruz. Almost none of our base was for Donald Trump during the election. Since Donald Trump secured the nomination, I would say about 80% of the people I talk to, both donors and activists, are going to be voting against Hillary Clinton. So I don't sense a lot of necessarily excitement for Donald Trump, but people, you mentioned some of the things you fear. One of the things I fear the most about if Hillary Clinton is elected is free speech and how she's going to be using agencies. I hope I could keep FreedomWorks open under a Hillary Clinton administration, and how she's going to be using the IRS and how she'll be using the FCC.
She'll have a new attorney general named Lois Lerner.
Yeah, well, we're good friends. We're good friends. So I get a general sense from the grassroots of a lot of I sense they're going to turn out and get for a lot of congressional candidates, for House Freedom Caucus members. They're going to turn out for some Senate candidates, and they will vote for Trump to vote against Hillary Clinton.
So even
can I build on that
Nick.
for a second? What and I want to echo something that my colleague and collaborator, I guess co-author, Matt Welch. I often think of him. He's the greatest collaborator since Coco Chanel with the Nazis. He'll do whatever it takes to get the job done without complaining. But he was talking earlier. I agree with you that freedom of speech, which we take absolutely for granted, because we're lucky enough to live in a country where it is, it's the First Amendment, it's right there. We should not kid ourselves that Hillary Clinton is uniquely an enemy of free speech. Donald Trump has said expressly and repeatedly that he will open up the libel laws, that he will go after people like Jeff Bezos because of the Washington Post. He will go after the New York Times. There is absolutely no reason to believe that Donald Trump would be he may be less efficient at
You will be incompetent at it.
Yeah, efficient at using government institutions to screw his enemies, but he will certainly get there. And this goes back to actually something about FreedomWorks. The real election that we have to deal with, in a way, if we're talking about politics, is what happens to Congress. And why I'm hopeful, we interviewed Mike Lee a while ago, the Utah senator. His Article 1 project, which Rand Paul, Jeff Flake, a number of other leading Republican senators are involved in, of pulling power back to Congress. And that's what I think is the most important election that's going to be happening here, because we know the head of the government is going to be a horror show.
Actually,
and we really need to build strength and understanding that Congress should be the major legislative body, and they should be wagging the dog.
Actually, Nick makes a very important point here. The biggest danger, I think, of Donald Trump as president is not so much what he will or won't do, because I think the bad things he wants to do, he probably won't be very good at. It's what the Republicans in Congress would react to him. There's a natural shirts versus skin loyalty, if you have a president of your own party. We saw that with George W. Bush when he was in office. My fear is Donald Trump has said, of course I disagree with most of Barack Obama's executive orders, but he set a great precedent for me to have my own. So the real pressure and the real influence that you can have is, if Trump wins, you need to contact your Republican members of Congress and say, if he's right, and you support him. If he's wrong, you have got to stand up for the Constitution. You've got to stand up for our principles, and it doesn't matter who's in the White House.
Now, Steve. Forbes.
One of the things that's going to happen, the mainstream media, which went silent for 7.5 years, if Donald Trump's in office, will find its voice again.
Yes.
Wrong reasons, but they'll do the right thing for the wrong reasons. But hey, take what you can from that institution.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, attendees at FreedomFest, as you all know, last year we made the very controversial decision of having Donald Trump speak in this very room. We had 1,000 people who were here from last year, and you saw the circus that was created with Donald Trump here. We had media coverage like you would not believe. CNN, Fox News, NBC, Playboy Magazine, Daily Mail. I mean, they were all here for Donald Trump. So, and in a lot of ways, it was the beginning of a major move up in the polls because he had been fired and said many things that were really negative, and he was really down in the press. So we're taking full credit or blame, depending on your point of view, Trump. So this year we sent out a press release saying, yes, Donald Trump is not coming, but we have a legitimate third-party candidacy with Gary Johnson and William Weld, and we invited the press to join us. Are they here? CNN, Fox News, NBC, Daily. Where's Playboy? They're not here.
Hey, you got Forbes and Reason right here. So that's.
But you have Forbes and Reason.
Review.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So this brings up our straw poll. We did a straw poll here at FreedomFest, and we are happy to report. So here's the voting. 1.3% for Hillary Clinton.
Raise your hand if you're one of them.
If you're the 0.3%,
If you dare.
where are you?
Percent.
Yeah.
41% for Donald Trump. 54% for Gary Johnson and the Libertarian Party. And by the way, if we do approval voting, which is where you can vote for more than one candidate, whoever you approve of, then Gary Johnson is at the top with 90%. Unbelievable. Trump was 63%. Stein, which I think is the Green Party
that's right.
candidate, 16%. And Clinton moves up barely to 2.5%. That's right. So this suggests to me, Nick, Adam, John, Steve, that we are largely a libertarian audience. And yet, when Nick, you moderated in a very objective way
Thank you.
the Trump debate,
you.
the
Thank
huge
you.
debate.
Yeah.
What was the end result?
Yeah, it was, I'd say from the show of hands, it was about 60% Trump, I'd say 40%, pro-Trump, anti-Trump.
Yeah, so.
Mark, let me give
Yes.
the Trump people credit. Person for person, they are 5 times louder than the supporters of any other candidate. And if you criticize their candidate, they are 5 times more likely to tweet bomb you. So I give them credit for complete candor and complete faith in their guy. And that kind of enthusiasm does matter.
And that does matter, and I agree with you. And the shouting match, let me tell you, folks, you need to buy the tape, the CD. This really was the highlight.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the pitch tank was fantastic. How many liked the pitch tank this morning? That was really tremendous. We're going to bring them back because entrepreneurship is what it's all about. But as far as a debate, we had 10 debates. You know, one thing that John Mackey of Whole Foods, our co-ambassador, loves about Freedom Fest are the debates. I love the debates. I'm sure you do too. But there's no question that the Trump debate trumped all the other debates, including our capitalist versus socialist debate, although I think the Libertarian CEO panel was really a lot of fun and energetic, and even our Bull and Bear panel, I think, was really good. So next year, let's talk about next year. I have a video that we'd like to show to tell you what Freedom Fest is going to be back next year, our 10th anniversary. Let's run the video. This is not to suggest that next Freedom Fest is going to be a Trekkie convention.
Now, John, Steve wants a promise from you that since he's going to be the first officer at this convention,
yes,
you will not make him wear pointed ears. He wants a promise of that.
Yes, well, we have Tom Palmer, our resident philosopher, who can do that for us. But anyway, we're pretty excited. William Shatner himself is very excited about coming to Freedom Fest and leading us on the free enterprise. I think it's really going to be exciting. We're moving over to Paris Resort. So again, pick up that. We've never done this before, but we encourage you to join us and sign up and get the early discount. Name your discount. Anyway, I think it's going to be very exciting. And we're expecting all the freedom organizations there. Freedom Works, of course. Reason Magazine, they are always there. We have Heritage. We have Cato, of course. It's always very much a part. All the major freedom organizations. We have room for 140 exhibitors. In Paris, they have much bigger room, and we'll have the big screens and all that sort of thing. So it's really going to be a fun event. And I really look forward to having all of you there. And let's make a difference. You know, the bigger the better is my approach, because the media is going to pay attention, more people that come to this event. That's the exciting thing. So bring your friends. We have 1,000 people here who have been to previous. Oh, and by the way, if any of you have been to every Freedom Fest conference since 2007, we're going to have a special award for you. And I've already met several of you that have been here at every one of those events. So lots of prizes, lots of surprises. And we have a number of really big names that I can't announce right now. We do have William Shatner confirmed, and Steve Forbes and John Mackey are first officers. But we also have some other very big names that we will be announcing over the next few months. So one of the things we're going to do after we break here, our closing panel, is we're going to have the silver dollar picture taking. So if any of you bought a silver dollar and have a silver dollar with you, come on up here and have a picture with our 4 contestants. I don't know if any of you have purchased your silver dollar. No? Steve, you still have yours?
Didn't even know about them.
Oh, well, here you go. Right. Yeah, you see, Steve Forbes has his. There you go, John. Right. Adam.
Thank you.
There you go. So if you have a silver dollar, come up afterwards. And Snake Man, our official photographer, is going to take our picture, and we're going to put it on Facebook and everywhere else. And please spread the word about Freedom Fest for next year. Now, I would like to thank, I think it would be an appropriate time for us to thank all the wonderful people who have been working tirelessly, hours after hours, hundreds of hours to put this conference together. First, let's thank Valerie Durham, our conference director, for all the work that she did, and her assistant, Mim Blauer. And I'd also like to thank my wife, Joanne, for all the great work that she has done. Fantastic. And I want to thank our speakers and you for attending this great event. Thank you very much. Is there something?